Hi sophomores, welcome to your Module 7 release. This is the last release for this semester, so we're almost there. So let's talk about what you're doing in this release. So in your last release, you learned about podcasting and how to do that well, and all about sound design and how sound design works, and you use that to create kind of the first draft of your podcast. So in this new release, we're now learning other aspects of audition, like mastering and the effects rack, and you'll get an opportunity to practice mastering, and then you'll be creating the polished podcast episode. So you can still use the recording that you already have. We are now working on making this even better and making this something that if you were to put it out as a full podcast, it would give your listeners a great experience. And so if you're wanting to know, now that we're at the end of the semester, kind of what's coming up, next semester we'll be going through programming and how to build our own websites using Wix. So let's walk through Canvas and let's talk about what you're doing. So you have your Release 7 video, which you're watching. You have a section called Mastering a Song, and it tells you how to master an Audition. It gives you two different ways that you can look at mastering an Audition. So both videos are great. They're a great resource. Kind of watch whichever one is going to fit best with your style. So you'll watch those videos. You have an on-master audio to download. You'll get a chance to master it and then return it in. Then you have a section about recording and effects, and I'll show you about how to do effects in Adobe Audition, and then advanced voice recording tips if you would like to re-record your podcast episode. And then you're doing your polished podcast episode. So you have an entire set of instructions on this. And again, you can use what you already have. We're now just working on making it better. And what I mean by that is when you think of a typical podcast episode, it always has an intro. It says like, welcome, you're listening to blank, or hi there, or whatever your intro is going to be. So you have an intro, maybe you have a section where you have background music, maybe you're taking pauses, maybe it's an interview. So this is really about cleaning that up. So you have all of your instructions, and then at the end, you kind of have your grading, right? So we have an appropriate length of podcast. And again, that is so dependent on each podcast. Some stories take longer to tell. You have a name and you have an intro. Your voices are clear. They're consistent. Your podcast is master. You have a segment with talking and background music, and that could very well be your intro. And you have a fade in and a fade out. So I want you to practice with that. And your edits generally sound cohesive and intentional and smooth. So you have a great start. We're now just making it even better. If you have any questions, feel free to stop by student hours or reach out. That is it for this release, and I'll see you in the next one.